Roster today. I am Gary and Thorne. That is Cam Stewart, and we have a full show of not only NFL action, but some NHL action as well, available to you on HotRoster.com tonight. So, to break it all down, as we always do, Cam, the big four off the top, and it is Friday, which means we have some Thursday night football action to break down.
Is it football if you're a Jaguar?
I don't know at this point. So, as Cam is alluding to, a 27-0 game at half between the Titans and Jaguars obviously created a very interesting dynamic in the second half and some surprising fantasy situations because of the extended garbage time. I would say that most Jaguars games are garbage time, but this is the reality we currently live in, and in that reality, Blake Bortles, not a great quarterback, but 29 fantasy points because 54 attempts in that game in total, 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, only 64 yards, though, at the first half. Obviously, Tennessee not coming with the same intensity in the second half. And Derrick Henry getting a lot of run because, again, this game got completely out of hand. 20 touches for Henry, 16 carries, 97 all-purpose yards, 1 touchdown. So, Cam, of these two sort of unlikely occurrences on Thursday night, which one are you believing in more? Which one could happen again?
What, Bortles sucking or Henry being good?
I guess that would be the options, yeah.
I could tell you Blake Bortles, but Gary, and to his point, that's the difference between fantasy and reality. This guy's awful. And you watch this Jacksonville team, and I can't believe Bradley's actually not even thinking about going to Henny. Sure, he'll get you 19 fantasy points, but they're not going to win any games when they're behind like that. As for Allen Robinson, still the situation you're in, 15 targets, yet he only has 6 receptions there. I'm very concerned. Moving forward, Marcus Mariota, 11 total touchdowns in his last 4 games. 10 with his arm, 1 with his leg. He's fantastic. Not only is he being good in fantasy terms, but in reality terms, the Texans look like a football team. Well, the Jaguars, they're nothing but house cats. See you later.
Yeah, I think
he's like the cat you want to go and leave because you're just sick and tired. Please don't come back.
Yeah, you don't
find some other cats in the alleyway and do your thing.
It's rough news for Bortles, but again, like all points count in fantasy.
They do,
Second
Gary.
half in a pointless game, so big game for Bortles. He's likely going to be a top 5 QB this week. As weird as that sounds.
What do you do with the Jaguars' receiving situation, right? Because Marquise Lee was a guy he gets 1 catch. Allen Robinson, 15 targets, only 6. He had 70 yards, but no touchdowns. And all of a sudden, Hearns is the guy. You never know what to do with these guys, Gary.
I mean, I'm seeing some buzz right now about Allen Robinson possibly being a drop candidate if he doesn't do that. Let's not go that far. He's still got 15 targets in that game. I will say about Derrick Henry, though, just briefly, it's hard to get too excited about this guy because obviously DeMarco Murray is having such an exemplary season this year. But Henry looked good. He was getting the edges and that kind of stuff. All this did for me last night was prove that he is an elite RB handcuff. Like, he's not going to have any value with the way DeMarco Murray is running right now.
Great
Tennessee, also the 5th best run-blocking offensive line this year. So a situation that is very conducive to producing very good fantasy running backs. The only problem is he's not going to get any touches behind DeMarco Murray. So, got to wait on that a little bit. But if he's available, maybe pick him up and cross your fingers for DeMarco Murray injury, as sad as that sounds. Hugh Jackson, head coach of the Cleveland Browns, expects Josh McCown to return against the Jets. And this report was backed up by Field Yates today, saying that McCown will, in fact, start the Browns' Week 8 matchup against those New York Jets. So this creates a very interesting situation where we haven't seen Josh McCown camp since Week 2.
I know.
But it's a good matchup against the Jets, who's given up the 9th most fantasy points to quarterbacks this season, although they have been slightly better the last 2 weeks. Carson Palmer did not look great. That was a David Johnson game.
Yep, exactly.
First and foremost. Joe Flacco didn't look good either, but Flacco was dealing with a shoulder injury.
True.
So there's some extenuating circumstances here around the Jets being good as of late. So is Josh McCown a playable quarterback in fantasy this week?
I do think he's a playable quarterback, too. And the one thing about Josh McCown, sure, the numbers are pedestrian, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 260 yards, but he actually has a relationship with Gary Barnidge. When Barnidge was playing and McCown was throwing to him, he was a top 10 fantasy tight end, Gary, and he was getting the touches over 30 yards on average and close to a touchdown, too, when you break down the numbers. That's fantastic stuff. I'm concerned about Pryor. He was one guy that was really lighting it up. It didn't matter who was throwing the ball. The Hulkster, Kevin Hogan and Kessler and whoever Cleveland else has, but it's an interesting situation in Cleveland land. You said it. The Jets are a team he actually might thrive against, so I could see some offense in this game with some sketchy defenses, so actually take a look at him. I'm not sure what your take is on the situation.
Well, I feel like if Terrell Pryor is healthy, this could be a big Terrell Pryor game as well. I know he's been dealing with that hammy injury, but the Jets this season have surrendered the most plays in the NFL in the passing game above 40 yards. There's big play potential in this game. The Browns on the other side of it, too, have also not been all that good. So
what about Coleman
when he
comes back?
Coleman when he comes back, too, running those Barnidge-type routes. Like, look, McCown is clearly the best
Yes.
Just the best solution to have any of these other Browns be fantasy relevant. So that's nice, and I think McCown is a decent start this week. I feel like there's probably going to be 12 quarterbacks that are a little bit better, but in DFS purposes, where his price is going to be so cheap, I know it's going to be like him or Brock Osweiler this week. I would, as weird as this is to say, I would think I would rather go Osweiler. I think that Detroit Lions defense and matchup is a little bit better.
Houston at home, too, coming off a tough game, too. They're going to be fired up this week.
I think so, too. But, again, McCown, it is a good matchup for him. Jerick McKinnon did not practice on Thursday, but that is not the headline news here. It's that he was wearing a walking boot as he did not practice. So this creates a very interesting situation for Minnesota, who do not play until Monday night during Week 8. So we will not know Sunday whether or not McKinnon is suiting up, but right now it appears that he is highly doubtful for that matchup. So, Cam, not only do we need to know what this means for Matt Asiata specifically, but this is a week where there's a lot of sort of guys you could pick up on the waiver wire right now and possibly slot in as your RB2. So Asiata, I know Mike Gillisley, we're getting McCoy, didn't practice on Friday. He's doubtful again. Rob Kelly even, like Matt Jones, already ruled out for that London contest, not flying with the team internationally. So Asiata, Gillisley, Rob Kelly, like how do you rank these guys going into Week 8?
It's really tough to rank them, Gary. But the one thing about Kelly, where we're talking like 9 rushes, 74 yards. So you want to talk about like average per carry, Kelly looks pretty good. Gillisley, sure, yeah, 5 rushes, 20 yards. But that whole situation when that Rex Ryan created in Buffalo versus Miami was a gong show. So when we really look at Gillisley, he's a guy that can average over 5 yards carry. It's against New England. That's a very tough matchup, Gary. As for Asiata, 3.6 yards a carry, but he has 2 touchdowns in his last couple games as well. So when you look at the matchups and break it down, I'm not really encouraged about anything, but you have to look at, from the HotRoster perspective, the touchdown factor, Bears versus Vikings. So Asiata, he's kind of like the Kool-Aid guy. Oh yeah, like breaking through the wall. He's not moving too fast, but the thing is, he'll get the goal line touches. So I got to go with Asiata. I don't know what you're thinking.
Asiata, I think, has the most intriguing and possibly the highest ceiling of any of these guys, because I think that, like you're talking about, the matchup is the best matchup on the board for these 3 running backs. And also, like you mentioned, he's going to get the majority of the work not only in the goal line, but in the passing game as well. Matt Asiata, can catch some little dink and dunk passes as well. The problem here is if you don't know whether or not he's going to play on Monday night, I mean, he's going to play, but about Jerick McKinnon's status for Monday night, you kind of have to take a chance on that. So I think that if you do have Gillisley, just being able to roll him out there on Sunday, because Chris Thompson in Washington too, I feel like he's going to get a little bit more work than Rob Kelly. He's going to be involved in the passing game. So I go Gillisley, then I go Asiata, then I would go Rob Kelly. Before we get out of here, Cam, Dion Lewis returned to practice on Thursday. That activates the 21-day PUP list clock. It seems like this is very much lining up that he's going to be back Week 10 for the Patriots after their Week 9 bye. Will not play Week 8. James White, it's going to be a good week for him this week against Buffalo, possibly.
We love you, James, but what's going to happen? Because Lewis puts up the same kind of numbers, right, Gary, but he runs for a better average, right? That's the problem. And then you have LeGarrette Blount, who's basically the battering ram. So you're an owner of these guys. That's the problem with the Patriots. You don't even know who's the true handcuff. James White was doing his thing. Then Dion Lewis comes back. He's even going to put up better numbers. It's an absolute gong show. The one thing you got to be happy with if you're LeGarrette Blount, though, you know he's going to get the runs, and then these guys are going to get more throws out of the backfield.
As you talked about, for their career, 4.8 yards per carry for Lewis, 3.4 for James White. And also, Bill Belichick doesn't care about your fantasy team. We know this already. He's trying to win games.
Yes.
And the Patriots will just use these guys in a system. They'll probably get about even share of the work, I think. They're going to work Dion Lewis back in, but James White's value obviously takes a huge hit here, and it's going to be annoying to play.
Dion Lewis, way more elusive, too. That's the thing. He could shake and bake and make guys look stupid.
Hopefully still that elusive, because, again, these are some serious injuries he's been dealing with. But when we come back, we're actually going to talk a little James White specific to Week 8, which is where his value currently lies. And we're going to do that, Cam, with Corey Parson, the fantasy executive, breaking down the Hot Roster today, card number 3, when we come back on Hot Roster Today.